بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. So inshallah, this year, in this lesson, we'll be doing a book called As-Sugra fi an-Nahw. So it says fi al-Awamil here, we're going to change the name to fi an-Nahw. So As-Sugra fi an-Nahw. Sugra means a small little booklet. An-Nahw. So last year, we covered in our main book, First Steps to Understanding Arabic, we covered the main concepts of Nahw. So what we're doing now in this book, the goal is just to cover all of these concepts in Arabic. Because we've done it in English, but those were primer to get you familiar with the terms. Now we have to do it in Arabic, so we get familiar with the Arabic style, Arabic structure, how these words are used in Arabic, so we can read Arabic textbooks. Yeah, so this book is quite simple because we've done all of it. Mubtada, I don't explain Mubtada to you. Fa'il, maf'ul bihi, you all know all of that, but it's how you Arabic, in this pure Arabic now, so there's no English involved. So year one we've done it in English, now we're going to do a small little booklet in Arabic. So this is a booklet that I kind of compiled myself, so this is my own booklet. Now, before we start the booklet, the reason that we're doing this booklet, other people watching our videos will say, well, you were doing Hidayat Nahwa and then you did Qatr Nadar, stop halfway in between, etc. Let me explain to you the reason behind this book and why we're doing. So why did I compile this book? So what happens is, it's not too important, but some other people may be watching this series may have this question. So in all sciences, what happens is you have like a few books, like a very introductory level book, and you have medium books, and you have an advanced level book. Okay? So normally in like the normal classical, very well-known books, like for example, one called Al-Ajurumiyya, that's very, very common. That's like the basic like level one, everybody, but not in the subcontinent, but in the Arab world, everybody does that. I taught that once. I didn't like it. I had a few issues with it, but it's got a lot of commentaries, etc. on it. But the structure, I didn't like it. It doesn't mean it's not a good book. Just for me personally, I didn't like the way he explained Arab. It was very confusing. There's another book called Al-Amil. That's a bit different structure, but it's some very introductory books. I studied that myself, and then I came across Awamil al-Birqwi. I really liked this book. The structure, his style, his methodology was really, really good. But in there, I had a few places where it was a bit not questionable, but it wasn't really for beginner level, or a few things. It wasn't very clear, especially the last section. But I really liked that book. So then what I done was, based on his structure, I then made my own notes and added and subtracted from his style. So it's basically based on Imam Birqwi, his style, and I've kind of done that. So this is basically, his. I took the idea from him, his setup, his structure, but the things that I didn't like, or some of the examples are his examples. I took those examples, and some of them are different examples. But the philosophy and the idea is his. But I added in where I thought was needed, or I subtracted or I tried to make it more clarity where I thought clarity was needed. This is my effort. So they might be better, but for me and my feedback, that's why I got this one. So it's not a completely new idea from me. It's from him basically. So what we done is, and the reason we stopped the Qatr Nadar, we done Hidayat Nahwa. I taught that book. I did think again. These books may be very good, but just personally, my personal opinion and the way I'm teaching, I didn't fancy it too much. So for beginners of Hidayat Nahwa, you have Qatr Nadar. Okay, so normally people do these books. So if somebody's watching and say, well, why are you not doing this? We did Hidayat Nahwa. We taught it 1 year. There's a lot of things for Hidayat Nahwa. It's got a lot, and that's my opinion. It's only my opinion. So it doesn't mean that this is the ultimate truth. But for me, and what I want to give to my students, has too many unnecessary discussions. Some things which are important are not mentioned. Some unimportant things are discussed at too much length. And those of you who studied it, for example, Tanazul Fa'alain, it's just too long discussion. Why is the Ism called an Ism? Why is the Fa'al called a Fa'al? Some of the Tawjihat is mentioned there. I didn't like it. So, but then the whole video series is there. So it's not that I haven't tried it, I'm just guessing. I've done the whole series, but I didn't like it. Qatr Nadar is very short. It's got all the main essentials. But my issue with Qatr Nadar was, when I heard students from my own experience, for example, I've taught it 5 times myself. Now you talk about 5 times, you're supposed to know it properly, innit? But the way his text is written, maybe he was very, very clever, maybe other people are very, very clever, so they understand it very easily. I've taught it 5 times, and each time I teach it, I have to spend so much time figuring out, not the masala, I know the masala, but what the text is saying. And I would listen to the students doing revision, and they would spend more time trying to figure out his text as opposed to the Arabic. And I found then, it's not that the Arabic's hard, not that Nahw is hard, it's just that the text is really hard. And even so, then I could hear the students revising and they're spending more time just trying to figure out what Ibn Hisham is saying, as opposed to what the Nahw is saying, what the Nahw and the Arabic is. So then that's why I discontinued that series. To me, it was, they were getting put off from it. That's the sign. I don't want. So what we have here, we have our own series, As-Sugra, Al-Wusta, Al-Kubra. Okay, so this year we do Sugra, a very, very small little booklet. Maybe we finish it very quickly by October, September right now. Within 6 weeks we need to finish the book off. Very easy, because we know all this in Arabic anyway, in English anyways. We have to make it in Arabic and just solidify it. Okay? And after it, we want the Wusta. So it's the same, so what will happen in all three of these books, it's the same exact tight contents page. Same structure, exact same structure. But the only difference is each time you do it, it's going to be more information. So in Sugra, it's got the bare skeletons. And in Wusta, we're going to learn how to do Arab of the examples and a bit more information. And the next year, shall we do Al-Kubra, which is everything that I like from Hidayat Nahwa, Qatl Nada, and even those difficult masail which are not common, but come in the Quran. So that's why, so even Awdah al-Masalik and Alfiya ibn Malik, so Alfiya ibn Malik is an Arabic poem, but my find is that the English students, they don't really, some of them, the ones that I've taught, the poetry is not too, they're not really too keen on poetry memorization. They like charts and simplifying kind of structure. So then these two, we want to replace it, but it's a summary of what we have, what the main, which I think are the main masail will come Al-Kubra. So inshallah, our Arabic Nahwa series, so the English is the first episode in Arabic, that's been printed and you've done half of it. This year's the next part of the syllabus. And for Arabic, we're going to do which books? As-Sugra, Al-Wusta, and Al-Kubra. We've got As-Sugra in front of us, and Al-Wusta we do after that very shortly once we finish this booklet. And each time we spiral out. And the Kubra's got everything. We do that. Everything meaning that I think is important. So it's got all of Qatl Nada's information. So you're not missing out on anything. But it's just, in my opinion, what I thought was an easier way of explaining and which things weren't necessary or which things I think are necessary and has come in the Quranic examples or some, even if it's difficult, but it comes in the Quran, you need to know this. So all of these things I have brought in. So inshallah, this is our schedule for Nahwa for the next 2 years. Everybody understand? So this is this introduction about the book and why we're studying this book, so you understand. So so the contents of this idea is based on Imam Bikri rahimahullah, his philosophy and his way of explaining Nahwa. And then so this first book is very similar, but it's got different. It's a bit different, but if you read the other book, you'll see it very similar. And even some of the examples are his examples. And then the Wusta is the same thing, but then it has a bit more information taken from some other books with Arab and how to do. We do tarkib normally, but how to do Arab of that. And in Kubra we have the full detailed Nahw. Understood? So this is a very small little booklet, so let's start inshallah. So before you start any book, give me the book. So before you start any book, what is very important is that you don't start reading straight away. I've explained this to all the other students before in other years. I'm going to say it again. Like any good book will always have a good table of contents. You see here, look at last page. Table of contents. You see? Now a table of, you should have a mental map of the book. Like you know, like if you start reading, it's like what's the book about? How many chapters are there? How many sections are there? What does each section cover? So what can you see from the table of contents? How many main headings are there? From the table of contents, huh? 6. Which 6 you see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6. But so what's the first one? Al-Muqaddimah. So Al-Muqaddimah means introduction. So basically introduction. So you know that, okay, one main topic is the introduction. The next topic, what's the next heading? Al-Maqsidul Awwalu fil Amili. Yes? So Maqsid, Qasada Yaqsidu later means the intent. So see, like you have like a heading. So in English, for example, you have a chapter, subheading. So people have different ways of doing subheadings in Arabic language. So some people call it Bab, Kitab, Bab, Fasl. Some have Maqsid, some have Bahath. So it's just like, so Maqsid means objective. But if you translate objective, is like, it isn't like, what do you mean objective number 1? It just means here basically, first subheading. So the Maqsid al-Awwal, the first heading, first like bab, first chapter, first section. So basically, you can call it subheading, section, yes? So this is what, the first section is called Al-Amil. What's the first section going to be about? What's Amil? We'll do that later on. The second one is what? Al-Maqsid al-Thani fil Ma'amul. That's the second one you can see here, right here. Al-Maqsid al-Thani fil Ma'amul. And then the third one we have is Al-Maqsid al-Thalithu fil Arab. So you have what? 3 chapters. And the other 2 headings are basically then saying we have, at the end we have some charts to summarize everything. And then the table of contents. So the book we have here in front of us is called As-Sugra fil Nahw. And it has 4 main headings. You following? An introduction, just to get like to know basic terms that we need to have when you're going forward. And we have 3 small subheadings. And what's the three subheadings? Amil, وصيغة as amil, اسم الفاعل, ma'mul, اسم المفعول, and i'rab, something else. So three things we need to know. So we're going to study Nahw in three headings. Are you following? Yes? So in this book we have three headings. Now what does amil and ma'mul mean? So what's the root letters of amil? Ain, mim, lam. Which bab? Bab taf'il. Yes? Is it bab taf'il? How is it bab taf'il? Which bab is it from? How can taf'il? Is it got shadda on it? Yes, exactly. It's going to be bab Sami ismu. I got this is wrong. It's not imala, it's amila. So amila ya'malu is what? Bab sami'a. I'll trick you in the class. You can't just shake your head every time. It's bab tafil. Which bab is it? Bab sami'a yasma'u. So bab sami'a. Okay, so amila ya'malu, so it got so many meanings. Normally it means what's amal mean? Amalun salih. To do good deeds. But if you look at it here in the hands where he says here, gram. What does gram mean? A cool name for grandmom. No? Grandma. So they call gram. No, gram means what? Grammatical. So when you use amila ya'malu in a grammatical form, in a grammatical structure, in a grammatical sense, so one word can have different meanings. So for example, what's an iron? Iron or iron? No, it's the thing you put your clothes on. You get what I'm saying? What's a wing? Huh? Wing of a plane, wing of a car, wing of a football, plane of wings, wing of a Formula 1 car at the front. So it depends on what you're talking about. So amila ya'malu, if you're talking about deeds or you're talking, so in a grammatical sense, when amila, so in the Quran Allah says amilu salihat, mean they do amal, they do grammar. That's about deeds. So amila in a grammatical sense means what? It means here to govern. It means what? To govern. Let me explain what that means. Fi. What does fi mean? On top, huh? Are you sure? Yeah. You prove it? You sure? Does it mean in or on? What does it fi in? You sure? Should I check to make sure? Are you sure? You sure? So fi means in. What is it? Harfun mushabbahun bil fa'il. No? Harfun jar. What comes after it? A majroor. And the majroor is always mansoob. Correct? No. Why are you guys fighting all the time for? Huh? What is it? It's majroor. So what do we say here now? So what makes masjid majroor? The harfun jar. Yeah. Correct. So what we say here, fi is governing. What is fi doing? It's an amil. It's governing the word after it. What's it doing? It's governing the word after it. So fi is the amil and al-masjid is the ma'mul. Do you understand? So amil and the ma'mul. So what's ma'mul? Masjid. What's amil? Fi. Lam. What does lam mean? Not. You add all the fa'il mudari. What's amil in here? Who can tell what's amil in here? Lam. What does lam do? It makes yaftah what? Majzoom. Very good. Very good. So it's amil, that's a ma'mul. But then if you have al-muslimun al-babain, the Muslims do not open the two doors. I don't know what that means, but anyways. So now, what state is muslimun in? What's muslimun becoming in Arab and Tarkib? What's it becoming? Fa'il. So what's making the fa'il? Fa'il of what? So yaftah is also what? Amil. It's both. It's ma'mun too? No. It's very good, Azim. It's what? Ma'mun to lam, but amil to what's after it. So yaftah is ma'mun of lam, but it's also the amil of the muslimun. It makes the fa'il marfu and it makes the maf'ul bihi what? Majroor. No? Sorry, I'm making too many mistakes. Someone forgot everything. Is it majroor or mansoob? You have to help me because I make a lot of mistakes in class. You have to make sure that I'm correct me, yes? Yes? Because I'm not very good in Arabic. So you guys study more Arabic than me. Because I taught the book and I put everything in the book and I forgot everything myself. If I make any mistakes, make sure you correct me. Understood? Okay? Good. Now, what shows the Arab? What makes how do you know masjid is, if you never had fi, how do you know it's majroor? Huh? What's the ending? Kasra. So kasra is what? Arab. Kasra shows it. Yes? So it doesn't show ma'mul, it shows how the ma'mul is behaving. Okay, so for example, let me give an example. My joke is what? My corny joke is what? Amil. Who's the ma'mul? No, I'm the amil. The joke is the amil. Yes? And the ma'mul are all of you. Correct? Your smiling is what? Is the i'rab. It shows you how you, and so it makes you what? Happy. It makes you marfu. My joke is the amil. You're the ma'mul. It makes you happy. Happy is your state, your i'rab, your thing. And how do you show your i'rab? How do you show your i'rab? You smile. You roll your eyes. Okay, corny joke. So your i'rab is what? Smiling. Your i'rab is rolling your eyes. Do you understand? So my joke is the amil, you are the ma'mul. Happiness is a state, and the state is manifested by your smile or rolling your eyes or oh no, all of those comments. That's a way shown. So fi governs masjid, and masjid becomes majroor. How is the majroor shown? Kasra. Lam is what? Amil. Yaftah is what? How is the majzoom state shown and manifested? With the sukoon. Muslimun is what? What state is Muslimun in? Mansub. Are you sure? Yeah, marfu. How is a marfu shown? The un, the waw, noon. Or the waw, technically it's only the waw. Beginning we say waw, noon, but really technically, now you have to like, all the lies we told you before, you got to like clarify them. We never tell lies, but let's make it easier, waw, noon. But technically only the waw. But we'll make it, so the noon is there, just extra, but the technically is a waw. The waw is the sign of marfu. And babain, what's the sign of, what makes, is what state is babain in? It's majroor, called kasra at the end. It's majroor? Are you sure? It's mansub as maf'ul bih. How is the mansub? How is it manifested? The state? The ayni. Technically the ya. Does everybody understand? So amil is the thing that causes the state. Ma'mul is the thing that is affected, and i'rab is the way it shows the state. Understood? So the i'rab of yaftah is the sukoon. The i'rab of muslimun is the wow, and the i'rab of babain is the ya. Do you understand? So that's basically our introduction. Understand? So that's what we're going to study in this book. We've understood what the book's about, why this book is written, and what's the purpose of this book, and why we've chosen this book, and why I've done it this book, and also the basic idea of how the book is laid out. It has 3 chapters, well, introduction and then 3 chapters. So the first chapter is going to be all about what? What's the first chapter going to be about? The first chapter is introduction. We'll do a few things. What's ism, what's a verb, what's a jumla, etc. Then the first main chapter is going to be about amil, all of the governing particles. So everything that governs, whether it's a verb that governs, or ism that governs, or a harf that governs, we learn all of those. Do you understand? Then we learn about ma'mul. What is governed? The word after the harf and jar is governed. The ism of inna, the khabar of kana, etc., etc. And then i'rab, marfu, mansub, majroor, and majzoom. And then which words show the i'rab in which state. That's how we're going to do. Very simple. Does you understand? Ubay, you following? Muhammad, Huzaifa, online, everybody following? Yeah, so it's very simple. And if you get this, again, we're going to do this book, we're going to do this idea 3 times. Each time is going to be more and more detailed. And if you get it in the back of your mind, it'll be very easy to follow. So you do this, but the first time around it's a skeleton, you just know it. So part of the thing is you have to summarize this book. You have a test at the end of the book, but you have also a summary. So this is worth 25 points. 20 is a test and 5 for the summary. You have to write a summary. Just summarize the whole book in your own words. Don't copy the table of contents, we have to summarize it. So work for that. That's due in October. Do you understand? So make sure you understand this book. Very, very simple book, but it's very fundamental for Nahw. Understood? We stop here then, inshallah. Okay, subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.